It can even be as little as, I'm doing this because I don't want them to be unhappy, or I'm doing this because I don't want the response from them. That's people pleasing. Hello, and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be a great day because today we are discovering that your people pleasing is a sign of avoiding your greatness. Your people pleasing is getting in the way of you stepping into your most powerful, wonderful, happy self. Your people pleasing is keeping you small. Your people pleasing is confusing you, thinking that you should be doing something, when in actuality, you're blinding yourself to what your real vision of who you are could be. Your people pleasing is keeping you stuck. You know, I was the number one people pleaser. I still resonate with that. I mean, I love to empower people. I love to, help people feel good about themselves. That is the purpose of the Business of Happiness. This is my absolute life's passion, is empowering others. And very easily for me, I walk that line and slip over into people pleasing. And what people pleasing has taught me is when I do that, it's because there's a red flag waving at me, telling me that I'm avoiding something or needing something. People pleasing is a coping mechanism. People pleasing is an avoidance mechanism. People pleasing is the number one sign that something is out of alignment. And healthcare professionals, moms, caregivers, healers fall into people pleasing so readily. It's interesting looking back over my lifetime and my obsession and habit of people pleasing. And when I look at it a little bit more closely, I see that all along the way, every time I was trying to please someone, I was really in need of something myself. And the problem with people pleasing is that we think we're doing it out of love. We think that we're doing it because we care so much about the other person. We think we do it because it's going to feel so good in service. In fact, in the personal development world, that's something that we hear all the time is if you want to create a business that is of great joy to you, then serve others, right? In service to others, we're supposed to find so much happiness and joy. But the tricky thing is that often in service to others, we can deplete ourselves, right? And I think that's where a lot of the shame comes in, especially for my incredible colleagues in medicine and dentistry, is we think, oh my gosh, I'm doing what I love to do, and I'm serving others. I'm doing so much to give back, to inspire, to support, to heal others. I'm giving back to my community. Why do I feel so bad about myself along the way? And the question I have for you is, have you slipped into a pattern of people pleasing? So what is people pleasing? People pleasing is when you do something for someone else and are secretly, sometimes unbeknownst to you, expecting a response or an action in return. When you're doing something because you're just trying to please someone, you're trying to get a response or validation or love or support from someone else. In other words, people pleasing is actually enormously selfish. I know. People pleasing is a selfish act. People pleasing is actually a cry for help. And what we know about people pleasing, when we start in that fashion, when we start doing things for other people because we think we're supposed to or because we're expecting something back from them, what happens is we start ignoring our own needs. And we start turning a deaf ear on those internal whispers, the things that are really calling for us to do, right? If your whole day is set aside for other people and you're not paying attention to yourself, you're actually forsaking your responsibility to take care of yourself and losing yourself along the way. Literally losing yourself. I mean, this is what's behind the pain of things like empty nest syndrome. When moms have spent their entire lives in service of their children without paying attention to what their own needs are, and then suddenly the children leave and there's no identity left for mom. When her whole identity was wrapped up in pleasing, supporting, nurturing her children, and never paying attention to what was important to her. What's actually happened is she's given away her power to take care of herself and used that reciprocal feedback from her children as her own empowerment along the way. And when it's gone, it's gone. And then she feels bereft of identity. It also happens to so many of us in retirement, when suddenly we have no meaning anymore because we've identified ourselves with that people pleasing all along the way, where we've been using the response and the validation from our patients, from our team, as tools to make us feel better about ourselves and forgotten how to do it for ourselves. People pleasing is when you stop listening to your own needs, stop listening to your own whispers, and do things because you're expected to, you're supposed to, or you're looking for a response or validation from the other person. You know, I was thinking about this as I was preparing for this podcast episode today. And I was thinking of all the areas of my life where I've fallen prey to people pleasing. I think parenting is one of the greatest. Trying to please my children, trying to get them to be happy with my response. It's so funny. I was talking to my sister-in-law this weekend, and she's been making the same kind of lunch for her son. He's younger, and so she's been always making him a separate lunch from whatever the family's eating because there's a few things that he's willing to eat at this point. So when everyone else was having chicken on their salad for lunch, she made him the traditional peanut butter and jelly sandwich and did so because she was expecting him to be happy and grateful for that sandwich. And he turned to her and said, "Mom, why didn't you make me a chicken salad, chicken on a salad like everyone else?" And although that statement is great, he's growing. He's now learning to eat different foods. This might be the turning point where he starts eating something different. Immediately, she felt bad. She felt defensive. She wanted to explain. She wanted to let him know that she was just doing that to make him happy. Making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for your son, there's nothing wrong with that. That is perfect. In fact, the action behind people pleasing sometimes wouldn't change if you identified whether or not you're people pleasing. The action is sometimes the exact same. The question is more the intent. Are you doing this because it's what's best, what you know from your experience and your expertise, and because what you want to do? Or are you doing it to please someone else? And sometimes we do things because we like to see someone smile. We like to have someone feel good about themselves. But if you're expecting a certain response, that's when you fall into people pleasing. So that situation would be very different if when her son said, I would rather have chicken on a salad, she could just say, "Okay, next time I'll make that for you." And let go of the need for the response or the action, the reciprocating response or action. Do you see the difference? What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a series of questions to help you understand for yourself, is this action out of people pleasing or because this is really what I want to do? Sometimes what I hear from my coaching clients is, how do I understand the whispers? First of all, how do I know and hear those whispers of my intuition? And second of all, how can I trust that that's really what I need to do? And it's not just a story that I'm telling myself inside my head. When do I know that I can trust myself? So I'm going to give you these series of questions, and I'll show you some examples as we go through them of when it might be reflecting a people-pleasing action. So the first question is, am I doing this because I want to or I think I should? I love this question. This is one of my favorites when it comes to people pleasing, because when you realize, oh, I think I'm doing it because I should, that is your red flag. So an example might be, I have set up a whole day of coaching clients. I have a full day of work, and I'm feeling guilty for not reaching out to babysit my niece. So I really think I should babysit my niece. So I'm actually going to cancel my last client and babysit my niece. And then that would be the right thing to do. Immediately I ask myself the question, am I doing this because I want to or because I should? Do you see how the action and the outcome might be the exact same thing? I might be doing it because I really want to. I haven't connected with my niece for a long time. This feels delicious. I love seeing her. I really love nurturing this connection with my sister-in-law. This sounds like a great idea. And really, I've got to start putting more boundaries on my clients, my coaching clients. So I'm going to make this decision for myself. That feels authentic, true, and like I'm really listening to my intuition. My intuition was saying, time to spend more time with your niece. You really need this. Both of you need this. And that would feel really delicious. Okay, that's scenario one. If I ask myself this question, am I doing this because I want to or because I think I should? And then I hear myself say, oh, Tarryn, your job is so important. And you love what you do, and this is your passion. You are doing this because you think you should. You're feeling guilty. You're feeling responsible. You're feeling a sense of lack, scarcity of connection with you and your sister-in-law, and really you're going to be doing this out of obligation. Now I understand more clearly. Now I have a better idea of how I choose. That word, should, is the most important in understanding people pleasing. If you ever put the word should and it says, yeah, I feel like I should do this, always use that as a red flag and question yourself again. And I don't know if you've ever heard this phrase, stop shoulding on yourself. If you ever say, no, I'm doing it because I really should, stop shoulding on yourself. That is never a reason to follow through with an action or a decision. Here's the next question, okay? Am I doing this because I want to or because I'm expecting an action or a response in return? Amazing. This is also one that could go either way, but it completely depends on what your intuition and your inner voice is telling you. Let's turn this conversation to leadership. As a business owner and a leader of a team, this often comes into play when we make decisions for the team. Am I doing this because I want to, as the leader, as the business owner, as the visionary for this incredible, beautiful business, or as the visionary for this team, if you're in management or as an office manager or even just a director of a team that's under you that you're supervising. Am I making this decision because I want to? Because it's my area of expertise and I know that this is the right thing to do? Or am I trying to get a response from my team? In other words, a couple of years ago, we decided to add more hours off for our team members. In other words, we decided to end our day a little bit earlier. We wanted to end at 4 on a day instead of going all the way to 5:30 because we wanted to see our kids. We wanted our team members to see their kids. We wanted them to have time to go to a baseball game at the end of the day. So we picked a day of the week and we thought we'd end a little bit earlier that day. Am I doing this because I want to or because I'm expecting an action or response in return? That was very clear to my business partner and I, that is what we wanted for ourselves and what we wanted for our team. We wanted this benefit for them so that they could have, a more well-rounded life. We wished good for them. We wished them an opportunity to go and see their kids' baseball game on a Wednesday night. That felt great to us. But if we were expecting an outcome, that's when we'd know people-pleasing. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you didn't get into business to be miserable. The problem is that people feel that if their business gets busier, if they start becoming more successful, that happiness will eventually set in. But it can actually get worse. This is why I created the Business of Happiness Prosperity Coaching. In this one-on-one coaching, we look at how to redefine success on your terms and re-find the joy and the passion in your dream. Visit me at thebizofhappiness.com and become the happiest business owner you know. What's so interesting is when we want our team to be praising us, thanking us, giving us enormous validation, that is people-pleasing. And that so often backfires because sometimes what happens is people don't like the choice you've made. And actually, that's what happened in real life. There were some team members that said, oh, no, we don't want to end at 4 on Wednesdays. We want to keep going. I need the money. I need the extra hour and a half of income. So they were upset about it. That's when we needed to be ready. So in other words, the response is what was the clue of whether or not we were people-pleasing. Which brings me to another question. If this resulted in a disappointing outcome, would I still do it? If this resulted in my team members being upset with my decision, would I still do it? Or am I doing this just to gain their favor? Remember, as a leader and as a boss, trying to gain favor always goes south. If you're doing it because you're rewarding, you're proud of what their accomplishment has been, or if you're doing it because you really are trying to increase the value of their experience and the value of this position, that's something completely different from doing it in order to receive or gain validation or praise. In other words, if they turned around and said, this is a terrible idea, would I still do it? Or am I expecting them to come back and give me enormous gratitude? Another great red flag of whether or not you're people-pleasing. People-pleasing in my life also got in the way of me being responsible with my decision-making as a caregiver. You have learned your art and science of your profession. You have learned your expertise. And yes, we are all still lifelong learners, growing and learning every day. And there are practices that I did 15 years ago that I no longer do, that I really believed in 15 years ago. And I've learned so much more since and matured and grown as an orthodontist. And I truly believe that our humility and our willingness to continue to learn is what keeps us great. However, when we allow our patients to sway us on our expertise simply because we want to earn their favor, That, my friend, is people pleasing. So that brings me to question number 4. Am I doing this because it's the right thing to do? Or am I being swayed against my expertise and judgment because I'm trying to please someone? In orthodontics, there are certain certain percentages of crowding that cannot be alleviated without taking out teeth. In other words, sometimes people's mouths are so overcrowded that we just can't fit all the teeth into the bone. There are ways to just lean them forward and make them look great while our patients are still young. But the truth is, when they get older, into their 20s, 30s, and 40s, they start seeing a lot of recession. So this has been a debate for decades. Extraction versus non-extraction treatment. And some of us have very clear boundaries around it. And whether you feel one way or another is not important in this conversation. The question is, are you swaying your opinion because a patient or a patient's parent is asking you to, and are you just looking for favor? Every time I have done this, I have regretted it. So the question is, are you making a treatment plan decision based on your expertise, based on your knowledge base, based on how you know this patient should be treated? Or are you being swayed because you want to gain favor? I love talking about this because what's actually happening is you're not allowing your patient's autonomy to choose differently. So imagine someone comes into your office and they say, here's my child, this is how her mouth is, and I refuse to take out any teeth. So if you tell me that we have to take out teeth, I'm hitting the door. Well, of course, okay, let me take a look inside your child's mouth. Let's see. When you're looking, are you looking with the eyes of your conviction and knowledge of your expertise and what you know needs to be done for her? Or are you looking with the lens of how can I impress this patient so that she stays? It doesn't matter what your opinion is. It is your patient's autonomy and right to choose whether or not to be in this practice. And it's actually kind of freeing to think of it that way. All you have to do is give your opinion, your expertise, that's what they came for, and then let go of the outcome. Let go of the need to have them love you, to have them like you. Because here's the news that my mentor and friend Karen Malone always says to me, we are not pizza. We can't please everybody. Not everybody is going to like you. Especially not every single patient. You will not jive with everyone. So be so grateful for the freedom in that. You get to let go of whether or not people like you. You get to act based on what you know is the best decision and what you would love to do, what lights you up, what makes you feel great. You get to make decisions from that place. I love to support my team. I love to give them all kinds of support. One year, one of the things that I knew would be so helpful for them was an expert in financial management. So we hired this phenomenal woman in our community. She's a financial advisor. We brought her in, we closed the practice for a day, and we just had her do workshops and then actually paid for her to speak to each of our employees individually to help them with their finances, to support them to get back in control and understand better what's going on for themselves. I mean, I was so excited and proud of that. I was so happy to bring such value to my team. And wouldn't you know, about half of them hated it. Didn't just hate her, didn't just hate talking about money, but actually were a little bit insulted that we dared bring this to them. They were also, some of them felt like it was a waste of time. They would rather someone else in their family manage their finances. I learned in that experience the value of recognizing when I want to do something out of the goodness of my heart because I love to support and empower my team, or am I doing it because I'm expecting a response? Am I doing this because I know it's the right thing to do? And then can I let go of the outcome? Can I let go of the need for them to find any value in it? Can I set up this beautiful day from my heart space, from my intuition, from my leadership expertise, and let it be and let go of ever needing anyone to come to me and say, thank you so much, Dr. MacCarthy. That was a brilliant day. How freeing that was. How freeing that moment in time was for me, because I realized, oh, I do love that about myself. I love that I think about my team's entire wellness. I love that I empower them in all ways. And this was an important new educational opportunity for them that I wished I had had when I was employed by someone once upon a time. And then I could let go of it. So see, people-pleasing stops you not only from doing what you really would love to do, but it stops you from being grateful for yourself, from loving yourself, from honoring yourself, from stepping into that more beautiful version of yourself and showing up with integrity and not having any rules around your actions, not expecting or anticipating any response. It's so much more compassionate when you let go of people-pleasing. The next question, number 5, is such an important one because it gives us a new insight into ourselves. Am I using people-pleasing as an act of avoidance? Am I avoiding something right here? So I'll give you an example. What happened to me yesterday? Yesterday, I had a full day of work planned. One of the things that I needed to do was send an email. I was not looking forward to this email. I didn't want to do it. It's important to do. It's needed to do. This communication is necessary, but it was one that was challenging me. And about halfway through the day, I thought, I'm going to help my son. My son needs some extra preparation for school. School's starting tomorrow, and I realize he probably needs me to help him get his things organized. Now, my son is 14 and perfectly capable, but I thought, yeah, he'd really like me to just sit down with him and make sure everything is prepared for him. I think I'm going to do that. When I asked myself the question, am I doing this because I'm avoiding an action? The answer was yes. I was looking for support from my son, validation from my son, gratitude from my son to make up for my fear and resistance of sending the email. I was expecting some nourishment from someone else, and in order to get it, I was going to people please. And what I was actually doing was avoiding a challenging email. Interesting. The second part about this, by the way, is always to let go of self-judgment. If you catch yourself in a people-pleasing action, let go of the judgment around it. Use it as just data. Isn't that interesting? And I love using that phrase, isn't it interesting? When you catch yourself and the answer is, yes, I'm doing this people-pleasing to avoid a certain action that's uncomfortable. Oh, isn't that interesting? It can even be as little as, I'm doing this because I don't want them to be unhappy, or I'm doing this because I don't want the response from them. That's people-pleasing. That's avoidance. Just let your awareness be aware. Just let your higher self be aware of what your actions are and recognize it as people-pleasing, recognize it as avoidance, and then do the next brave thing. The last question I have for you, whenever you recognize you're in this pattern of people pleasing, stop, pause, and ask yourself, what do I need right now? You see, people pleasing is the number one sign that you need something. We people please because we're looking for something in return. We're looking for something and we're needing something. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be embarrassed of. We all are needy. Humans are needy. Let that be. We need things. But here's the secret. You can give it to yourself. You are in complete power and control of supporting yourself every time you need something. And if you just ask yourself, what is it I need in this moment, you'll hear the answer. Let's go back to that example of that email I needed to send. What do I need right now? I need confidence. I need to feel more confident about my decision, about my say. I need to feel strong in my presentation of how I feel. I need to feel convicted and validated to send this email. Oh, isn't that interesting? Now I know what I need. So I took a moment and I gave myself that. Tarryn, you're doing the right thing. Tarryn, you need to stand up for yourself. Tarryn, you are worthy of speaking your truth and saying how you feel. Tarryn, you can do this in a really compassionate way. It doesn't have to come across as bitchy or confrontational. Oh, suddenly I feel better. Suddenly I didn't need to help my son anymore. Isn't that interesting? Suddenly I was feeding myself the compassion I was looking for. That's all. My people pleasing was just a red flag that I needed some support and some love and some confidence, and I can give that to myself. When I know what I need, I can find a way to give it to myself. Sometimes the answer is I need a nap. I need a break. I need to take a deep breath. I'm exhausted. Sometimes I need to know that I'm being a good mom. Oh, and there's certain people in our lives we can go to for that. You know, my husband is one of them. Sometimes we come to each other and we're like, sweetheart, just tell me I'm doing a good job, please. I'm not getting that validation from my kids right now. I'm not getting that from my actions right now. I just need to hear that. Remind me that I'm on the right track here. And then he'll give it to me. We know who to go to when we need the support. But asking ourselves, what do I need right now, is exactly what the answer to people pleasing is. Then it releases you of that urge to have to support somebody else and hope that they give us the response back, because it's always putting the responsibility of something outside of you. And taking care of ourselves, our own happiness, is an inside job. It's miraculous. We have the resource within ourselves. You can do it. The question is, what do you need right now? That's all. So is your people-pleasing habit asking you to look at something within yourself? Are you avoiding facing something within yourself? Are you avoiding the truth of what you need? Are you avoiding the responsibility of taking care of yourself? Are you avoiding the need to step up in a higher version of yourself and take command of your life? Take command of your happiness. Take command of your life. My friends, I'm so honored always to be supporting you. This is such important work. If you are a people pleaser, I love you for it. I love you for it. I know you. I know what this means. I know that you just want to care for people and support people and see people happy. I know, because I've been there myself. And that's my passion too. But I ask you to take care of yourselves first. Because when we don't need anything from anyone else, then our compassionate action and our service to others takes on a whole new meaning. Because nobody likes to be supported from somebody who's doing it with an ulterior motive. And believe me, we know that energy. You know that energy when someone says they're going to do something for you, but you really know they're looking for something from you in return. People feel that energy all the time. When you can stand with conviction, not needing a response or validation in return, when you can offer the incredible gifts that you have to give because you want to, because it feels delicious to do so, and it does not matter how they respond. That's when we take back our power. That's when we really can do good in this world. So I leave you with this. When you feel good, that's when you can do good. When you feel and know that you're doing this because it's from your expertise or from your beautiful heart and desire, that's when you're making positive impact on your community, on your children, on your team, on your friends and family. When you feel good, that's when you can do good. Bye-bye.